All right, my friends, so let me describe this distracted driving study to you that I did. Study, using that phrase extraordinarily loosely. I have no research budget. So what I did was I went down to College Way on 3 days in October. I hid behind one of these trees with a clipboard, and I made notes as I watched cars go by. And then I decided, based on people's behavior, whether or not they were driving distractedly or not. Here are some of the things that I called distracted driving. Phone call with the phone at the ear. Okay, I called that distracted driving. Phone visibly being used in some other way. Texting maybe, or checking whatever, TikTok, whatever the hell it was. Head looking at a lap for more than 2 seconds. I figured maybe they had their phone down there and they were trying to avoid a ticket from the police. Eating. I decided that was also distracted. Rummaging for stuff on floor. One hilarious example, I'm watching a car go by and it appeared to not have a driver at all. And it was driving down the road for a couple seconds and I didn't see anybody, and I stepped out from behind the tree to yell. And as I stepped out from behind the tree, this person popped up holding a bagel. So apparently they dropped the bagel on the floor and decided, instead of pulling the car over to pick their bagel up, to just keep on driving down the road while they look for their bagel. Beautification, doing your hair, putting your makeup on while you're driving. Cigarette in hand, hand not on wheel. So, you got your cig out the window. So those are all things that I observed that I defined as distracted. See, the problem with distracted driving is everybody refers to distracted drivers, but nobody defines what a distracted driver is. As I was editing the video just now, I realized I bet you there are some definitions of distracted driving somewhere, so I decided to take a look. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration actually defines it as, it's not there, they're just telling you why it's bad. They define it as distracted driving: any activity that diverts attention from driving, including talking or texting on your phone, eating or drinking, talking to people in your vehicle, fiddling with a stereo, entertainment, or navigation system. Yeah, so pretty much that's a lot of the stuff that I ended up calling distracted too. I also decided to ask ChatGPT what is distracted driving, and it pretty much just paraphrased what the NTSB decided to call it. So, okay, we have a definition for distracted driving. But those components of distracted driving, like, for example, talking on a cell phone. Well, talking on a cell phone while you're holding it, or talking on a cell phone while it's hands-free, because people have had many arguments about whether or not talking on a cell phone while it's hands-free is distracted. See how tricky this can get? That's not the point of this lesson. The point of this lesson is to show you how to construct confidence intervals, which we're doing a pretty good job of in this video. But the bigger statistical question is, when you're constructing a confidence interval, to make sure you have defined your variables well. Okay, let's get back to this study. So I determined that those were behaviors that I saw that were distracted. Now, in sum total, I can add all this up and I'm going to write it down. I saw 97 distracted behaviors. Okay, I'm going to write that down right there. Now, those are just the ones that evidenced this stuff here. If they didn't, I said they weren't being distracted. So, you got your typical not distracted. You got your, hands at 9 and 3 or 10 and 2, whatever. Or just, appearing to drive. Now, could they have been distracted? Absolutely, but they didn't look to be distracted. And that's one of the problems with my study. I'm going to critique my study here, and I'm going to have you critique it in the homework too. One of my own critiques of the study is this is all based on visual. Right? Maybe somebody was distracted, but I couldn't tell because they didn't appear to be distracted. And maybe some of these people over here actually weren't distracted, but they appeared to be. So this is all based on visuals. Okay, so I saw a grand total of 562 people who weren't distracted. Combining them with the other 97, we get 659 total trials. Okay, I'm going to put that down. I'm going to use those numbers in a second. There were also some cars that I couldn't perceive. Either they had tinted windows and I couldn't look in the windows to see what they were doing, or they were going too fast for me to process what was going on. Let's go over to the Excel calculator and run these numbers. Okay, so we're back in our handy dandy single proportion confidence interval generator. Yay! Okay, so for distracted driving, we have 97 folks that were distracted out of a grand total of 659 folks. At 95% confidence, the p-hat is about 15% with a margin of error of about 3. You might remember those numbers from the lesson last week. 15% plus or minus 3%, or 12.01% to 17.42%. So basically, what that tells me is even though I remember an awful lot of distracted drivers, they are in no way the majority. I mean, look at that. Look at those numbers. They're nowhere near 50%. But as I said last week, they are high enough for me to be concerned about. 12% is about 1 in 8, and 17% is about 1 in 6. So anywhere between 1 in 6 and 1 in 8 drivers being distracted, I would maybe be concerned with that. But again, a critique of my study. This is not a critique of the math. The math we just did was awesome. No arguing this math. That is exactly the confidence interval. The study itself, though, relies on how correct I was to identify those 97 people as distracted. And that's where research methods classes come in, how you better define surveys like this. Okay, fantastic. Let's do one more. Everything we've looked at so far was me giving you data. What I want you to do right now is I want you to practice by watching an experiment.